Remember that scene in the first Wayne's World movie when Wayne gets fired in the middle of the show, and then they cut to Garth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
he kind of freezes?
Yeah.
This is what what this podcast is going to be like.
Thought it was going to be the Chris Farley show parody.
That was my other one. Yeah, remember when Garnet was on the show?
Yes, Andrew. What about it?
It was awesome. I'm Andrew Pfister. I'm the producer of One Up Yours. As you can tell, Garnet Lee is not here. Shane Bettenhausen is not here. John Davison is also not here. So we got in a brand new crew.
Can I say
today.
weekend confirmed?
No, we're not going to do that today.
Weekend confirmed.
Actually, I'm going to go back and edit that out.
No, we could do it, dude.
Weekend confirmed!
We have to put a question mark at the end of it.
That's Jay Frechette from GameVideos.com. Sean Elliott, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
And Philip Kohler, newsman.
Hi. Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
That's Poppin' J Fresh too. It's good to get the nickname out there right away.
For sure. You know what the funny thing was is when you guys interviewed Ethan, I forget his last name.
Ethan Einhorn.
Ethan Einhorn, thank you. I rode the elevator down with him, and when he got in the elevator, I was about to introduce myself, and he looked at me and he goes, "Hey, Jay Fresh," and I was kind of like, "What?"
Your reputation is preceding.
I was just funny that he said my nickname. He didn't actually say my full name from it.
Yeah,
we also get stopped on the street a lot, don't you?
No, definitely not.
You will at some point.
So when are you recording your first album?
Oh, soon. I don't think it's going to be an album. I just want to be a one-hit wonder. Just do a single, and that's it.
You were born with the MC's name, though.
I know, it's perfect.
So I'm not Garnet Lee, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, and we're going to do a half show, maybe a two-thirds show today because we're short on time a little bit. In the first segment, it's going to be what you've been playing. In the second and final segment is news with Philip. Mm-hmm. And let's get started. Who wants to go first with what you've been playing? No one?
I'll go
See,
first.
This is that Garth Algar moment.
I can go first if we want.
Okay.
Well, probably the biggest game I've been playing is Alone in the Dark, which is to say I played like about an hour of it. But it was a pretty interesting hour. It starts off really narratively, kind of. Like you're kind of... It's one of those things where you're just kind of thrust into the story right away and into the character, and you're seeing everything through his eyes. Mm-hmm. And it's done in a really interesting, immersive way, but then you actually start playing it.
And it's not interesting and immersive anymore?
It's not so good. It seems sort of like they took they planned it as a third-person game all through development, and then they got near the end of development and realized that the third person doesn't control or look that well. So they threw in a first-person mode. And it plays a little bit better in first person, but it's definitely clunky.
Yeah, I remember because we went to a preview event a few weeks ago, and it was like Atari's making this like a very big deal.
Yeah.
And as I was playing it, there was a weird disconnect between the third person stuff and the first person stuff. Some of the stuff you can't do in third person. Some of the stuff you have to do in first person, like put out fires.
Yeah.
You can't use the fire extinguisher in first person, I believe, or third person. It depends on what you're doing.
You can't use the fire. This is like you get the fire extinguisher, and then you're taught you have to go into first-person mode to put out fires with it.
Right.
But then you have to be in third-person mode to knock down doors with it, which you have to do both of these in a very short time span of each other. Like it's a really weird system, and it just seems like they were kind of confused on what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And there's just fire everywhere, and actually putting out fires with the hydrant was one of my least favorite parts of the first hour of the game, because you spend a lot of time doing it. Like there's fire spreading everywhere really quickly, and in order to get through this hallway that's burning, you have to put out the fires, but it takes forever to do it.
It does.
You just have to keep spraying them for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or something for each little bit of fire.
Word is also that any strategy guide or Prima guide, the solution for everything will be fire.
Yeah, that's
like
Nick's. I've been watching Nick Sutner play it, and he said that something along the lines of it's basically fire solves everything. The game.
Yeah.
You have the ability later in the game to add fire to your bullets.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's
so when you shoot, it's incendiary, and it's pretty much a fire-based game.
I watched a demo of it, and that's kind of what it was. I saw like Nick playing, I think probably like 45 minutes, and we were just in the demo room, and it was like, you know, when the first enemies came up, like he started just shooting at them with his pistol, and it wasn't doing anything, and that's when the developers were like, oh, you have to make the fire bullets, and that's when it went into that menu system where everything's in your coat, which I think looks really cool.
It's looking down Mark McDonald's body simulator is what I called it.
Exactly. You open up your trench coat and you have all your toys, but it doesn't pause the game at all when you do that.
Oh, it doesn't? I didn't know that.
And they said in order to like kill some of the enemies, they have like this scar that's going down their body, and you have to shoot in the scar with the fire bullets. So like whenever you see them, I have to go into the menu, do the little combination to create fire bullets, and then I have like 5 shots to shoot this guy in this tiny little sliver, and he'll catch on fire and die.
Awesome.
And I was
You gotta
like,
be quick with the MacGyver shit. Man.
I was like, I don't know if
MacGyver wasn't able to pause,
That's true.
but he pulled that shit out of his ass.
Using a candy bar to stop acid, or yeah.
But the other interesting thing is that, and I mean, like, I only played about an hour, but Nick did tell me that when you get into the later part of the game, like the last third, the gameplay changes significantly, and it kind of opens up. So it might be better than it sounds like from this, at least if you can power through this first section and get to that part of the game.
Are you setting things on fire in the last part?
Yes.
Is that the switch?
That's the change.
In order to make this, because they want to brand it like a whole season of shows or programming
there's
on a single
episodes.
DVD, and in order to make that amount to something more than levels than stages divided by loading screens, they've given you like this synopsis of previously on, and you're able to pick any chronology that you want. But I don't think any one of our reviewers is going to do that. I think it would be interesting if maybe you picked one of you to be that person
to skip,
because it presents itself that way on the package. It's
Andrew,
like you do whatever.
Are you going to be doing one?
I'm
going to
be on the small review for EGM.
You should try it.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to mess around.
Be the study and see what kind of sense it makes.
The presentation thing
order.
is really interesting to me because I'm surprised it took this long for someone to adapt this style of presentation to a game.
They've described it as like a DVD where you can skip to any chapter you wanted.
And it kind of makes sense because of the length of games is more equivalent to a length of a network TV season, more than a movie or like something else, like an episode. So I'm really interested in playing that and seeing how it works.
I do want to try more. I mean, it wasn't like totally awful to the point where I don't even ever want to play the game again. It was just definitely, I could see major flaws right away from the start.
Yeah, we saw that in the preview too. It was a little awkward. So
early showings of that game would always demonstrate some sort of atmospheric thing. Your guy, blinking his eyes because
you had to do that.
Or something.
You had to do that.
And then let me finish real quick. And then you'd get in a vehicle or something, and it would be about, can you hotwire this in time to escape? But then when I look at it now, and I've looked over Nick's shoulder, it's nothing but him shooting a ton of monsters and doing what you're saying.
Yeah.
So is that meet your experience?
In the intro, like I said, the intro starts off really immersively, and you do have to do that blinking thing a ton. You're basically taught right away, like you kind of wake up and you're all groggy and your vision keeps kind of getting messed up, and you have to blink to clear your eyes. And then I guess the way that continues throughout the game is you can blink at any time, and I think if you're in a dark area and then you walk into light suddenly, your eyes might get kind of messed up and you have to blink to clear them.
Right.
But other than that, it's just in that intro area, I think, where you have to do that as an immersive thing. And I didn't get to the point where I was actually really shooting a lot of guys because I was just in the intro stages. But I mean, I can from watching Nick, I agree with you. That's what I've been seeing too.
So no like hallucinations or vertigo, because I mean some of those early levels also showed you hanging on the sides of skyscrapers in New York.
I got to that area where you are hanging on the sides, and no, there wasn't anything really.
That old game Call of Cthulhu that came out, I saw it demoed over and over again. I didn't review it, but I mean, I was interested in it for that aspect of it. I mean, if you use the first person point of view to simulate psychological effects and stuff like that, someone will get it one of these days. Breakdown did too, right?
I think so. Yeah, Breakdown was like a really like immersive kind of thing that had like weird effects to it. So
that's Alone in the Dark. I've also been playing Mega Man Star Force 2 for review.
You're gonna have to explain which one this is. Is this Mega Man Battle Network 18?
I don't.
19?
Yeah, something like that. I don't have the subtitles here, but there's 2 versions being released. And I think it's Zerker X Ninja and Zerker X Saurian are the 2 titles.
Wow.
The 2
You
subtitles.
couldn't make up more bullshit like this, like the Tender Rondo, the Delicate Saga.
That's right.
Which hopefully you'll hear more about.
I hope so too. But I have never played Mega Man, what is it, Battle Connection?
Battle Network.
Or Battle Network. And I hadn't played the previous Star Force game either. And Star Force games are a continuation of those GBA games. But despite never having played a previous one, it still feels totally derivative.
Yeah.
And you said you've played some of the previous ones, right?
The first couple, I think. And then the GameCube one was just totally different.
I have a question for that, and this will help with my review too. Has the whole series been the way where this one is, where there's tons of random battles, so it's like an RPG?
Yeah.
But there's no level progression or like character progression at all? You don't build your stats really?
It's been a long time, but I do remember like the main draw of that is collecting the chips.
Yeah.
And building your arsenal.
Yeah.
As far as beyond that, as far as level progression goes, I don't really.
You have that,
remember.
which is like a sort of like a Pokemon thing.
Yeah.
But you don't have any level progression with it. So like, I'm an RPG fan, but this isn't drawing me in as an RPG fan because it's just random battles without any of the minor rewards you might get from a random battle. So it's like I'm grinding, but without
you don't
anything
feel like
for
you're
it.
building anything.
Exactly.
Would either of you guys have touched this game if not for being assigned reviews?
I mean, you played the first couple, but you said you liked the first couple,
I liked the first
right?
couple. They were interesting because at the time they were pretty fresh and like a new take on Mega Man. But after like the fourth one, and they started splitting it not just to two, but into three.
Yeah.
Like
the other bad thing about this is that, like, I don't know about the first couple, but I'm sure that the plot was a little more interesting, at least. But here, the story that they're putting you on, like, your quests, basically, are like, let's go to the mall, let's go to a movie, and then bad guys invade the movie theater, and let's go to a ski resort, and then bad guys invade the ski
Does it
resort.
have dialogue that you have to skip through?
Yeah, it has a ton of dialogue, and
Yeah,
it's
the game
just
is a
super
very
inane and
creeps across
awful. It's really terrible.
And that's like the last thing I would want, I feel like, in a Mega Man game if I sit down to play one.
Dialogue?
Exactly.
A huge narrative and a bunch of text to read through. That's the last thing I want to do.
it's kind of like the dot hack games where it's like a MMO like within a single player game, and I don't know. That's just not appealing to me.
I'm not enjoying it, but I'll have a
Apparently-
review up next week.
Millions of people must still be buying these, right?
I think there's like hardcore Mega Man fans who buy every one and every version of every one. So
They're like the Dragon Ball Z fans.
Yeah, it's the Pokemon effect, but
Yeah.
without, like you said, the leveling.
But yeah, so like I said, I'll have a review up next week. You
It's
guys
like
can check that
grinding
out.
without the good parts.
Yeah.
I don't know if this will be interesting at all, but I know if Shane or Garnet were here, they'd make some sort of snarky comment like "Welcome to 2006" or something. But I decided this week to go back and check out Ghost Recon, the original GRAW for. Well, not the original Ghost Recon, but the original GRAW for 360, because I had first played this game back when it came out when I just bought my 360, and I totally hated it. And I had a lot of friends who really loved it, but I just couldn't get into it. But since then, my tastes have changed a lot, and I've gotten a lot more used to shooters on the 360 and with a controller.
Yeah.
So I decided to go back and see if my opinion of it had changed at all. And the one thing that's really surprised me, I mean, I am enjoying it more, definitely, like after having played Gears of War and being used to like cover-based third-person shooters on the 360. But the one thing that's surprising me is it's reminding me a lot of Mass Effect.
Really?
With the way that the shooting works, with you get all the targets highlighted, and you almost don't really have to aim at them. You kind of shoot in that highlighted area, and eventually you'll hit them, kind of. So I don't know if anybody has ever felt that way, but it's.
Did you ever play Full Spectrum Warrior?
I have
The
not.
first
No.
one? It was kind of like that. Sean, did you play that one?
Yeah.
It was kind of like
liked it at the time.
Yeah, I liked it at the time too because it
whole
took
lot,
you out
actually.
of the street level combat stuff and kind of put you at a level above that, where you're giving you're issuing orders for movement and shooting, but you're not actually doing the shooting. You're just telling them to point in one direction and they'll take care of it.
It was essentially a puzzle game.
It was,
too.
yeah.
I mean, the
See, but
combat
I'm not playing GRAW that way at all, though. Like I'm pretty much ignoring all the ordering my troops around and stuff because I'm just not as interested in that, or else I haven't figured out how to do it effectively yet. So I'm just kind of running along and shooting dudes, and then my guys will be following me, and sometimes they'll die, and I'll usually just leave them.
What about you play Brothers in Arms?
I haven't yet. I'm really
I always
looking forward
thought
to the new one.
That was a much better series than GRAW. I mean, it's a newer series, but I mean, yeah, I remember when I first played GRAW when it came out on Xbox 360. I was like, I'd rather play Brothers in Arms. But a lot of it there was just because how staged and hokey it was, and how completely inflexible the AI is in GRAW.
Yeah.
To the point where if you die once, which happened to me quite a bit, you then know where the enemy's going to post up.
Yeah,
So what you could do is you post up somewhere where then they're going to expose their backs to you because they have to go to this spot.
Yeah.
And then once they're there, they're incapable of doing anything differently.
Yeah, and I've definitely noticed. I've definitely been doing that as well.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing like in Rainbow Six, where like if you know what's going to happen,
Yeah,
then you can
I think
just plan it?
I think it's exactly the same. But yeah, so I don't know if that's interesting to any of the listeners, but I just went back and I was surprised to see how my opinion had changed, and just I wasn't expecting it to remind me of Mass Effect of any game.
I need to go back and play GRAW and GRAW 2 again too, because I didn't really get into it the first time either. So
I think you guys should play. I know they're different games, but I think you guys should try SWAT 4.
I
It's
keep
really
hearing you talk
eye-opening.
about it,
I talk
yeah.
about it all the time.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
would-
like if I'm going to play that kind of game, like that game is just it's so good.
That was the one that
It was
Ken
so
Levine was
far-
involved
yeah,
in, right?
That series was and that series was so far ahead of every other one that tried to do, both commanding your squad, using, opening all these different picture-in-pictures so that you can see your sniper's point of view, switch to him. And it's mainly just about the way that the game is constructed with the levels, instead of just putting you through one battleground after another. There might be just one suspect to get, or there might be quite a few, but it's always about what this place is and what's happened here. And really moody, atmospheric game.
Yeah, the way you described it on GFW Radio, I think when you were interviewing Ken Levine, it sort of reminded me of like a BioShock, but with a bunch of different environments.
SWAT as BioShock. Yeah. I mean, because that's something that he's always been good at, right? Communicating through the environment.
I definitely want to check that out. And I also am really excited about Brothers in Arms, the new one for 360.
Yeah, when it finally comes out, I'm looking forward to it. It's been so long. I really don't know what's taken so long. Do we have an answer?
No,
I don't know. It's been delayed a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for me. Metal Gear Solid, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Is Battlefield Bad Company still embargoed?
I'm not sure. It comes out next week, right? Is there a demo out?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the multiplayer demos.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Sure. Playing that. Any of you guys been playing that?
I've played it before, but I haven't been, not the most recent demo. I had it before when we were looking at it.
From the original, the retail game, and then the current demo, they absolutely approached the original as a beta and iterated based on player feedback. So one good thing to come out of it was just like sort of nerfing the grenade launcher damage, because this is a game where everyone's going to want to use a grenade launcher. And that's been a problem with DICE's games in the past, like Battlefield 2 when it first came out. It's like everyone was using the launcher, and then same thing, noob tube. It's like you hear it because it happens in every game, so common. So what they did was they just reduced the damage of it so that now it makes the most sense to, if you're in a fight, to hit someone with it first to sort of stun them or to chase them, and then finish them off with your bullets. And that way it's not all grenade launcher stuff. But I don't know. I think the game is really, really cool. It's super fun.
I really liked the parts. I liked the destructible environments a lot in it. I felt like I got a lot of visceral kind of satisfaction from just like using an automatic machine gun to just mow down a bunch of trees and just kind of watching them go down. So I like to scale the levels a lot.
Would you say that this is like finally the console Battlefield that makes that series work on console? Because they haven't been very successful previously with trying to do that.
With the last one, they did something interesting, and I did like the idea that they've since scrapped, that you're able to switch between any different soldier on the field, and that makes it a different game than was ever on the PC. I mean, you could do really interesting things just by just kind of like mind jacking. And I've also talked before about how I like the game PsyOps, at least like a lot of its concepts and stuff. And one of them was the ability to take over an enemy just on looking at them, and it has kind of that vibe. But this one, I say for multiplayer, is the one that's getting it right. It's like a perfect mix of the sense of Call of Duty 4, but then also the things that make Battlefield what it is, and it works fine on there.
Do they have something like the speaking of Call of Duty 4? Do they have something like the experience system in that, where you unlock stuff as you?
They do, yeah.
Cool.
I mean, that was the controversial thing, where the original plan was that they're going to charge people for it.
Yeah, I remember.
And then it's good. They changed that. They saw that people were going apeshit about that, and then they changed that up. And the other thing is, I have played it with every single weapon, and I don't get the sense at all that the unlocks are far more powerful than the original items, or make the original loadout useless.
That was kind of a problem in Call of Duty, right? I mean, it seems to me anyways.
I think so in Call of Duty. Yeah, I mean, you can use an M4 all throughout Call of Duty, but I think that, I mean, like the P90. I play on PC, so if there are differences. So if anyone's listening and like what I'm saying isn't checking, like just it's the PC one. But the P90 is like the god weapon in that, because you can almost, with the right perks, you can fire from the hip, and it kills so quickly. I mean, I also play. Here's another further caveat, is that I play hardcore mode. Oh, so in that case, it's like you can run around jumping and using that thing, and stuff like that. But the perks in here, I think they're fun, and it's kind of like Battlefield 2, right? I mean, this stuff didn't come from Call of Duty. I mean, in Battlefield 2, you were able to unlock all these weapons, and people were used to the notion there that the weapons you unlock are good for certain scenarios, but not all the time. And then in this game, unlike COD, you can constantly switch during the course of one game between different loadouts and actually make them as you're playing. You can just pause it and stuff. But I think, more importantly, what's cool about this game online is that it has the feel, like COD's got like just this perfect feel to it. The scale looks right. You feel, and that's kind of like the feel of it's kind of like what made CS, Counter-Strike so popular. But then the Battlefield element is the unpredictability, and then the layers of creativity that you're able to apply when you're playing it. And that's, when you're chasing someone, blasting holes through buildings to find, better routes to them or better routes to escape from them. Like you were talking about using a tree and trying to knock down a tree to kill someone.
So the destructibility is really important.
Yeah, it ends up mattering a whole lot.
You think this has any chance at all of like taking away some of the audience from Call of Duty and Halo?
I don't know. I mean
it's hard.
It's hard. It's like always seems like reading tea leaves for me to determine what the audience does. But I would think that if they are to the point where they've had like maybe a little too much Halo and Call of Duty 4, that this is going to be a great option for them. And I think that if that picks up and a lot of the influencers in those groups, the ones that, everyone has on their friends list and you look at what they're playing and you end up joining them, then I think it could carry a significant portion of the Call of Duty audience over to this for some time.
One possible bonus with the timing is that it's coming out during the summer when there's not a lot of games, and also it's coming out when there's been a long break between the last set of map packs for both Call of Duty and Halo, which I think is probably a smart choice.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I'm bummed it's not on PC. I would really like to play it because I haven't been playing PC shooters that often.
I was just going to ask you if you checked out the Pyro update for TF2 yet.
I need to do that. That's when I'm going to do that this
talk
weekend.
About that.
Yeah,
and I'm also, I'm really just worried about this. I hope that they find another, and I know Valve's working on other ways to make these, new unlockable weapons available to people.
Yeah. Did you see? We'll talk about the achievements and news.
Okay, because right now
issues.
it's just achievement farming.
Yeah, because I hopped on
nothing but fucking farmers.
I hopped on last night just to check it out for about half an hour, and I didn't even bother playing Pyro because on my team there were like 8 of them already.
Yeah.
So I was planning this. I was playing Medic for the first time in a long time, and I was checking out the new stuff with Medic. But it takes a while to get the new stuff in Medic, so I was just playing regular Team Fortress 2.
And some of the things that it takes to get the stuff as a Pyro or Medic are so ridiculously difficult that it encourages farming.
Exactly, it's stuff that you would almost. I mean, you would almost have to set up unless you just have a lucky break and manage to get it. It would take you a year.
Otherwise, it would take you a year to factor in what your odds of this condition.
You'd have to do the
7 times over the.
We have that
Ryan
news.
Scott
method. We should hold off and talk about it a little more there because we'll talk about some of the specific achievements that are issues. I think.
Yeah. Jay, do you want to go?
What I've been playing?
Yeah.
Well, regardless of kind of the amount of awesome games that we've had so far this year, I'm actually still playing a few titles from 2007. The first one being I'm kind of casually playing through Mass Effect a second time.
Oh, cool.
I beat it the first time last year, and I did it the goody two-shoes route. I got the achievement for saving the world while adopting kittens and the whole deal. I was 100% Paragon. And this time I created a new character. I wanted to start it over and play it the entirely opposite route, just be ruthless, evil. And I've had a really hard time doing it. Just because, I want to do it, and I want to see kind of, the different results, but just kind of, my own natural,
You're too nice.
values. Yeah,
that happens to me, too, in games like that.
I hear this so often, and Jeff Green's with you guys, too.
Yeah.
And it's I just don't get it, because it's so easy to abstract it. In the same way, shouldn't it be problematic for you to play, GTA then or something? I mean, or
even GTA, I kind of play GTA, the nice way. When I'm driving around,
I'm nice way, too. This is a game where a dude tells you to go kill someone because he's in a bad mood, and you go and kill someone.
Yeah, but you drive, really nicely to get there.
Yeah, I'm not hitting any cars.
That makes you worse, as we've discussed. That's a sign of a real,
just a hypocrite.
that's as premeditated as it gets. You can say a shitty remark to someone in Mass Effect on a whim, but we're talking about just cold-blooded, premeditated. Don't get caught. Don't attract any attention by the cops because I guess someone to fuck up.
And we've talked about this a little before on the show, but I guess the difference is that in GTA 4 you don't have a choice. It's just you're forced to follow that path,
and you have to kill people.
And when you do have a choice, it feels different, even though it's not really.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know. I played a bad guy in Mass Effect too, so I don't.
I just did the one thing on Pharos where you had the option to kind of after you rescued somebody, be oh, you were dealing with Saren, so I'm gonna have to kill you, or you could just let them go and let them help the colonists. And I chose the option you must die, and it went into the cutscene where my character just walked straight up and shot him. And as it was going, I was sitting there going, no. I'm can I go back? Can I change that answer? I didn't think you were just going to actually go kill him. And I got really upset about it. But so that's been one experience that I'm having with Mass Effect. It's been very troubling. It's been very enlightening for me. Secondly, I'm completely addicted to Call of Duty 4's multiplayer.
Yeah.
Completely addicted. I beat it last year over Christmas break. I played through the campaign and really enjoyed it. And that was it. I only rented it while I was home in Michigan. And then when the map packs came out this year, everybody was talking about it a lot and talking about the multiplayer. And I was like, you know what? I never even gave it a shot. I really should check it out. And it was on sale on Amazon. So I went and bought it and sat down and played the multiplayer. And that was about 6 weeks ago. And I'm like level 35.
Nice. Are you playing on 360?
Yes.
We should hang out on there because I
haven't
need to
played
check
with
out the
friends
new
at
map
all.
packs. So
the map packs are awesome.
Yeah.
I love them. They're really, really great. But I love the level progression of it. I love like seeing that plus 10 every time I kill a guy. It's just like there's a lot of gratification. I feel the difficulty on it is really great. The controls are smooth, 60 frames a second. It's the first time, like most of the time I play games online really to like stay in touch with my little brother or really just for fun. I don't like I really enjoyed reading that I win competition thing because I kind of fit in that realm where I don't really care if I'm like awesome at a game or winning.
Yeah.
With Call of Duty 4, completely different. I want to murder everybody. I want to be the best player. I want to be at the top kills
I'm
every single
surprised
time.
you just said you started 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it hasn't been nothing but, more or less unstoppable, the best of the best that are left. Because, it's kind of that way on PC. If you were to just jump in now.
Well, the first 3 weeks, until I probably got to level like 20, I was just getting destroyed in every game. And most of the guys were like level 40, level 50 characters that were matching me up, and I'd be the guy with like a 6 down there at the bottom.
COD4 is still one of the most played games on live, right?
It is.
Still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a lot of that of course, like you're going to get that through experience, but a lot of the high-level play isn't just accuracy and just a general kind of a loose ability to predict your opponent's actions, but it's explicitly knowing spawn patterns and being able to read those and predict those based on the proximity of their allies and things. And it's like, there's some people can run that game pretty hard. Like if you, where they'll just constantly get you in a run where they're killing you. They know where your team's at, and then they'll keep one person alive so that they're able to keep farming you guys as your spawn.
That's the point where I quit playing because I can't play at that level.
Well, you could see the disparity in
like that.
You could totally see it. If I've been playing just a lot of random matches, so it's not not all the time. I'm not playing against like very specific teams of people. They're just guys like me who are just jumping into random matches. And some of the games, it's a lot of guys who haven't played together or aren't really playing together, so you have that benefit of a lot of kind of chaos going on, and you can get some easy kills that way. But you definitely have your games where there's 2 or 3 guys who know exactly what they're doing, and you can see it in the score. Where
when you see their clan tag, that's when you're like, oh, crap.
It's like everybody on the team has 7 kills, 9 kills, 9 kills, and all of a sudden it's like 27, 33, and like 25, and you're like, I remember him killing me 17 times.
Do you like talking to the strangers
I don't even play with a headset.
Really? Okay.
Nope.
I don't play with my headset on, but I turn the volume on so that like I haven't played in a long time, but I'll turn the volume on so that like Amanda, if she's sitting in the room reading, she can hear the conversation that's going on and be like, what the fuck are these people talking about? I can just be like, I don't know.
You do that on purpose?
Yeah, I just do it to confuse people.
I realize now it's like it's not such a big deal that the voice quality is so low, but I've become classically conditioned, so that's now the sign, and that will trigger my like negative reaction to the content of what people are saying.
Yeah.
But so now it's to the point where it's like if you ate a shitty like tomato or something and it got you sick, and then eventually just seeing the shape of the tomato is like enough. You're like, I don't want anything to do with that. So it's like I hear that voice and I just want to turn it off. And I was talking with Robert Ashley about this last night, and he was like, I was trying to play GTA online. So we're doing this cops and robbers mode, and this guy's in the car with me, and we're the cops, and I'm driving the whole time. And I can't use some of the language the guy was using on the show, but he's like, I'll just substitute the word pussy for another word that starts with that. And he's like, why you drive like such a pussy? You fucking pussy. Why are you driving like this? Why do you, and the whole time they're playing, they're trying to go and get these guys. This guy's just, sitting there telling them all this shit. I was like,
what possesses people?
See, dude, that's why I don't.
Unless I'm playing with friends or in a private chat, that headphone is not even plugged into my controller. It's like I don't even bother anymore.
My favorite type of person on Xbox Live is the people who rap while they're playing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
If it's like a good, legitimate freestyle, or is it someone
No, it's
like
usually
doing
awful.
Eminem lyrics or something?
No, it's usually, I don't know, if it's an actual song, I don't know it. I don't know, I guess, mainstream hip-hop that well, but like
it's almost always what they're doing is they're reciting. Because if someone was really freestyling about what's happening in the game,
that would be pretty.
then that shit's worthwhile, man. We used to try to do that when we played Soul
up.
Calibur. Like, the thing was, like I did with my friend Tony and them, like we had this thing where like if you were kicking ass, you'd have to start freestyling, and that was the rules, like because it would strain your ability to focus on just the game.
That's awesome.
That's a really cool idea.
All right.
Is that it, Jay?
Oh, last one is Rugoo, the puzzle game for Xbox Live Arcade. Anthony wrote a great review for it, and
He really liked it.
He
I
did.
recall.
He did really like. Gave it an A-. And after I read his review, I was home that night and I just downloaded the trial version off Xbox Live Arcade, which it's pretty substantial. It's like the first, I think, 8 or 10 levels that you do. And I mean, after I finished the final one, and it was like, go back to arcade or buy full version. It was like on the spot. Bought the trial version, then played like another 10 levels straight right after I had purchased it. And for those who haven't seen it, it's basically it's a play off that mechanic, that those toys you had when you were kids that had those shape holes, and you had to place them through it for it to fall into the box. This uses like these round discs that are like suspended in space that are kind of spaced out vertically going down, and you can rotate them, and as these shapes fall, like you have to rotate the disc so that they fall through the appropriate slot and then go down further and further until you stack them at the bottom. And through each level, it adds all sorts of little variables and variations on this one mechanic that kind of keep the challenge going. And it's a great game to play. It's like the music's really good. Visually, it's got a really cool art direction to it. It kind of, the earlier stages, like just from the colors and kind of some of the settings, reminded me of like a high-def Super Mario Galaxy was kind of the first thing I thought of when I saw it. And
This is Rugoo, right?
Yeah, Rugoo. It's got such a ridiculous name that I feel like weird anytime I'm recommending it to somebody. They're like, oh, what are you playing right now? That's good. And I'm like, Rugoo. And
It's getting to the point, though, where like game names, like if you were to look at like flip through a pre-order list at EB Games, it would be kind of like looking through the weekly paper if you live in a major city at the names of the local bands playing.
Sure.
It's like someone just starts throwing letters on the fucking, on the fridge magnets, magnets.
Well, it's either just a totally bizarre name or a totally like cliche name. It's one or the other.
Yeah. When I worked at GameStop, we used to go through the release date list, and when you have to, anybody's worked at GameStop or EB knows, like when you answer the phone, you have to be like, hi, thank you for calling GameStop, or you can reserve this game. How can I help you today? So we used to always try to find the most ridiculously named game that we could, so that when we would answer the phone, like my favorite one we ever did was when Butt Ugly Martians was coming out back.
Nice.
And that always got some interesting responses from everybody who would call.
So the interesting thing about Rugoo, kind of going off of that, is it seems to me like they're finally, and maybe this is part of that process of like cleaning up Live Arcade that they're trying to do and getting rid of some of the bad games, but it seems like there's a lot of really unique stuff coming to Live Arcade now. Like every week now they're adding new games that aren't two-stick shooters. Like like this week they had the new what is it, Sea Life or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I know
Pokemon Snap-ish.
Yeah, it's basically Pokemon Snap underwater, and I know Anthony's playing that and loving that as well. And then they have that Elements of Destruction, which is a game where you just like cause natural disasters.
I can't wait for Ticket to Ride to come out.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really interesting to me that there's finally seems to be some real
How
variety.
does this natural disaster game work? That sounds cool. I mean,
I don't know.
Been...
I haven't played it yet, but I just read about it and it sounds cool. Although I have heard some sort of negative things. But I'm going to check out the demo this weekend.
I think there's been enough done with natural disasters. There's that like what's that one that came from Japan? PS2 game.
Yeah.
The Earthquake one?
Yeah.
But that's like such
remember the name of it.
There was this time during the PS2's lifespan where some really interesting things were coming out of Japan.
Yeah.
And it was like Lifeline from Konami, like the game where you control is like, through the headset and stuff.
The same thing kind of happened with PS1 too, with the games like Incredible Crisis. Like as you get towards the end of the lifespan.
Incredible Crisis, yeah. So it's kind of like, listening to the games we're talking about, we mentioned, COD yet again, and Grog, and Mass Effect, and it's like, I mean, it's kind of sad that, I mean, it really is getting to the point.
I don't know, I'm about
that's another thing we're going to talk about in the news.
I'm about to bring up a game that's people might not be expecting much of. Deadliest Catch. Alaskan Storm is the game I've been playing.
All week, this guy with Deadliest Catch.
Oh, not just all week, but I've been looking forward to this
his whole life.
Is it a real game?
It's the strangest thing. I'm reviewing it. I'm trying to get a handle on it. It's not a game. It's like a work simulator. It's like an actual crab fishing simulator.
Wow.
With like the most terrible presentation and the lowest budget you can imagine. But if you're a fan of the show and if you know how crab fishing works, it's like you are a captain of a crab boat. You're plotting out strings of pots and you're like driving in almost real time. You could like go in Alaska in the Bering Sea in real time. and drive your boats and pick up pots and like manage your crew. It's pretty insane.
It's insane that that's on a console and right now because I mean it basically
it's
just
360 and PC. I'm playing the 360 version.
Everything I was saying, but except it's just one game. You know? I mean, I do think like that game aside, like we are having this shakedown where we have fewer options. But I mean, is crab fishing, is that show that popular where someone's like?
It is popular. It's a show on Discovery Channel. If you've never seen it, it's about the Alaskan crab fishermen, and it's like a really dangerous job. People die and get crushed and freeze and drown all the time, but never oddly on the show. Because especially it's in season 4 now, and it was a really fun show in seasons 2 and 3 when you get introduced to like the 5 regular captains and their crews, and like stuff would happen, like crazy rogue waves would hit the boat and ice would fall and like there were rescues and stuff. But now it's kind of at the point where I've seen all this, and they're kind of manufacturing drama the same way like other reality shows would. Like, oh, here's like a really big moment that we're teasing, and it's just like the captain getting into a fight with his son, and it's no big deal.
Have they done a musical episode yet?
Not yet.
So they're not totally tapped out.
Not totally tapped out.
Think if this game had like if this game had the budget of COD, and the early like SAS mission where they're boarding the vessel.
Yeah.
And it was presented like it had all that, but it was like about running and either like pulling someone back in the boat or like hauling in pots or something.
Well,
but the boat is still heaving around.
In addition to the regular like crab season, because I've played like a regular king crab season. There's stuff like
supposed to
there's a paleo crabs,
okay,
which is like the more dangerous one. I haven't encountered any like crazy weather yet. I'm hoping for like a big snowstorm and like waves. They promised me 40-foot waves. I haven't seen anything.
You don't
like,
even
higher
get
than
like
10 feet.
eat the crab when you're done though. That's
No,
like the one.
It's the worst thing about the presentation is that the actual crabs in the pots, they fall out of the pot like a big like frozen dinner, like a big rectangular cluster, and then they proceed to like melt into the sorting table. It's like the worst effect possible for like the actual jaw of the game.
But is that a deal breaker though? Like for whoever
it's not
bought
a deal breaker. No, but it's
fucking ice melt.
I want some individual crabs falling off the table.
Yeah,
but
because they don't move. And
they don't move or anything. It's just like I want these guys because clearly they understand the show and they had fun with it and they did a good job of like actually simulating.
Who is it? Do you know?
I can't even remember the name. Like you would never heard of him before.
Sure.
But they just didn't have the budget.
Some guys' entertainment.
Yeah, something like that. They couldn't even get like Mike Rowe to narrate the show.
Is it along the choir like those History Channel 360 games that are like on the Civil War?
Kind of. Yeah,
or
it's very educational and it really does feel like work. I was playing until like 2 a.m.
Those History Channel games aren't educational.
I had to play one of those. Let's not bring those up.
Sorry, Scott.
It's like false.
I couldn't let that go uncontested. They're horrible, shitty, cheap shooters.
Really?
Yeah, they're
no basis in actual history.
No, they're according if you I played the last one. I forget what it was called. It was Pacific
something. I played that too.
If it was a history lesson, I learned that the usual 3 guys killed like one Japanese dude and his like 600,000 clones that came out of cloning facilities and many other things that would have failed me in a.
Yeah, so I guess this is a little more educational than that. I was playing up really, really late. I was finishing up the season, and it felt like doing the work. Like, I want to go to bed. These guys, 2 a.m. on their boat, want to go to bed. That's all they want to do. I felt like that playing the game. So in that way, it's like really effective at conveying what it's like to be a crab fisherman. But at the same time, I really wanted to stop playing the game. So this game is just really confusing.
Is this a scary point in human, the evolution of human cultures, though, when we're like wanting to, we're not wanting to do real work, but we're wanting to do virtual work and. Yeah, this came up with The Sims and stuff too. When
it's kind of like The
Sims.
Out,
it's like who do we really want to do this with our free time?
Right.
Well, the thing is, I don't think that this game is probably going to have a very big audience for that reason.
Well, I don't know because at the end of the King Crab season, I got my money, and then it presented to me with all these upgrade options for my boat. So I bought a new rudder for like $50,000.
Are you competing with like other ship captains?
You are. Because there's a fleet quota every year, and you're all fighting for that quota. So I haven't tried it yet, but there's online Xbox Live multiplayer.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So I'm going to report back next week.
I'll play you in that if you need me to.
I want to try that, man.
The games last 48 hours, like a real season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow. All right, let's move on to Metal Gear really quickly. We kind of have to not spend that much time on it, but
4 hours of Metal Gear discussion. Let's go.
Well, Metal Gear hasn't been talked about a lot, so
I know. I think we're first to this discussion. I've been replaying it a little bit, just through Act 2, and I'm playing I'm trying to explore more. Because I was rushing my review a little bit, but I'm trying to explore more. And
your review is out now. Can you talk about that at all? What you thought about it or gave it?
I gave it an A- along with Jeremy's A-, and I think Matt gave it the A, just a straight up A. And I'm pretty much almost exactly on the same page as Jeremy. I appreciated some of the stuff, like some of the more wacky Kojima stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of got a little more, but
judging from what I've heard from Jeremy talking about it, I think I pretty much agree with him as well. But there's some stuff that he said that I didn't agree with. Like, for example, I don't know how you guys felt about Act 4, which is, can we spoilers on?
Spoil alerts. Come back in about 3 minutes.
Okay,
go.
Well, Act 4, where you go back to Shadow Moses.
Yeah.
Like Jeremy talked about how that was basically just him. Kojima hitting you over the head with nostalgia, and it was, but I totally fell for it. Like I was totally into
I fell for it too, but I can see where he's coming from. Because in
I
some
understand
instances, he does get really heavy-handed with that stuff.
Yeah, I understand that, but I really enjoyed that area, and I thought it was really cool. Like he talks about how they switched up the enemies and made them less interesting because they're all robots in that area, so it's a little bit more simplistic. You're just kind of sneaking around their cone of vision, but that's again like a throwback to the original game,
right?
And I thought it totally worked.
I have an absolutely different reading on that, but it's kind of in my blog right now.
Yeah.
So rather than repeat it again, I'll just point people to that.
Yeah, and we have
I like that section a whole lot.
We have a written roundtable with me and Sean and Jeremy.
Yeah,
and,
that's going
and Matt
up.
and Shane. That's coming up not this week, I don't think, but
I think I
week.
said today, but then I know I haven't had time to go back.
We dig a lot deeper into that kind of stuff.
Excellent.
I need to contribute to that.
One thing I wanted to point out, though, I was talking on GFW Radio and stuff about some of the themes and Act 4, that how it works with the theme of obsolescence and stuff, but this other one is control, and that of course runs throughout the entire game. And it's one thing to just point out that the game has themes. Everything has themes, like Mama's Family has themes, and it's all what you do with them. So I was kind of disappointed when I did see some people respond to my blog and be like, oh yeah, you're finally getting it. It talks about love and it talks about it's like Sierra's not getting it, but control is another one of those that is developed to a considerable extent where it starts to become meaningful, and that is the overarching thing is that I spoilers. I just hit that wall. People are being controlled and they're reacting against that. PMCs are being controlled and this and that, and you have this character who I can say is screaming Mantis because you've seen illustrations of her. Yeah. And it's a marionette artist, and her mechanics operate via control. But I'm talking. Well, I guess we could give a spoiler alert. I don't know.
This
is the problem. This is why I just kind of committed to only talk about.
Turn spoilers on.
I can't say anything unless I can talk.
Hit the spoiler switch.
If you're checking back in now from 3 minutes ago, give us another 3 minutes.
So the whole theme of marionettes and people pulling strings, and I was commenting how ultimately we're the puppeteers for Snake, and it would be cool if the game did something with that, where maybe even if you did something screwy, you'd hear Snake tell Otacon, ask Otacon, like, what the hell am I doing? I don't feel like I'm in control of myself, or something like that. Not those lines. And
but that's the kind of thing Kojima would do too. So.
Right, which is people pointed out though, and I never caught this, that if you do die in certain scenarios that the game can predict, that are stupid, like falling off a cliff or down a hole, you will see strings. You will see the marionette strings of your character. And I probably understand that was put in as referring to you did something stupid. It was screaming Mantis who manipulated you into it. But either way, I prefer to read it as the strings lead to our controller.
Yeah.
And so that's another way that it develops that. Of course, and then with the whole syringe, that's an actual gameplay element that's playing into the whole control and resisting control thing. And there are a few other things, but I know this is a quick segment, and we'll go back into non-spoiler territory.
Yeah.
Spoilers off.
So how far are you, Phil?
I finished it.
Oh, you finished it.
Yeah, I played through a bunch on Friday, right after the game came out, and then on Saturday I was kind of sick. I was going to go into the big signing thing here at the Metreon, but I was kind of sick, so I ended up just staying home and playing it all day, basically.
It was absurd.
How was it?
It was absurd. There were, when we got there, I think it started at 4, and we got there right around there. Mia, Ryan, Shane, and David Ellis, and we just started walking down the line. And I mean, it was the Sony store guys when we were there said there were more people here than when we did the PS3 launch. I mean, it was just it was literally lined around like 3 blocks.
Well, now there's a game to buy for the PS3. So.
Right?
If you were just driving by and looking,
that was an easy shot. Sorry.
If you're just driving by and scanning the crowd, and you had to guess like what these people were there for, would you have guessed that they're there for a video game?
You know what? Probably not, actually. You had a couple people that were dressed up, but it was, like a really low amount. A couple guys are in like cardboard boxes.
Yeah, I was going to ask how many dudes in cardboard boxes.
We filmed all of it, and it's on the One Up Show today. But it was a very normal, like quiet. I mean, I've been in the Final Fantasy Crisis Core line, and we all can guess what that's all about. I've been in the GTA 4 line for 3 hours in front of EB, and that's like a bunch of people who wish they lived in GTA and could do whatever they want, and there's crazy rap battles and all sorts of weird stuff. And like we get to the Metal Gear line, and everybody's like well behaved and excited about the game, and they don't want to hear any spoilers, and they can't wait to talk about like their favorite moments from it and everything. And it's very interesting.
They don't
with
want
each
to hear
of these
spoilers, but they can't wait to spoil it.
Yeah, exactly. We had a few people, like Ryan was talking to one kid who had marathoned the game, finished it, and it was buying another copy for Kojima to sign. And Shane was interviewing him and talking about it, and there was people next to him that had like hands over their ears that were just like did not want to know anything at all. So it's really cool to see the different people that show up for these things.
Oh, because that kid had finished it, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll hit Metal Gear again in the coming weeks. Garnet, I'm sure, will have fresh opinions on it, and you can yell at him for those. Just wanted to quickly hit on Metal Gear Online. I played a bunch on Sunday, and then I drew the Bloodbath map about 5 times in a row, and I immediately quit because that map is terrible.
What's wrong with it?
It's the square map. It's just too small. And if you're in an unorganized group, which I was playing with, it's just like a weird. I won actually a round in Firefight, and in the regular deathmatch, I didn't even know it. Like I didn't even try. So I just cannot stand that map. The other thing I wanted to say is that the pricing structure I'm really worried about, because it only comes with 1 character slot, and if you want 3 more slots, you have to fork out $5, I believe, and that's just really. I'm worried about like when maps are going to start coming.
Yeah, that's not good. Some rumors just started coming out today about Japanese release date for the standalone Metal Gear Online and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little worried about that too.
And the same thing with the new voice, because on launch day it was the character slots you could buy and the voice pack. There's an extra voice pack, and the codec pack with the extra like voice samples, it's fine, but you're in that pack there's some like really essential like sayings like I'm in a firefight right now, I need help. Why you would separate that from like regular communication? It's just, I don't know, it's weird.
I'm hoping to check out some Metal Gear Online. We'll have to play some together.
We're also today, around the time that this goes out, we're going to have an interview with associate producer Ryan Payton on the site. And one of the interesting things in there is that they're talking around what's next for Metal Gear. And of course, Kojima's already been saying he's interested in making another one, which is kind of a bummer to me, because I would really like to see him start with a clean slate without any baggage.
Yeah.
Whatsoever, with characters and expectations of fans, and do what he can. Do what he does best from a clean slate. Yeah.
Well, the thing that I was disappointed in, because I read the interview and I worked on a news story about it. So the thing I was disappointed in, though, is that he said he wants to do, or they're probably going to do Metal Gear Solid 5, but it's probably going to deal with some of the characters from the original. It's probably
right.
Which I thought that if they did Metal Gear Solid 5 now, they could move forward, and even if it took place in the same universe, they could not have to deal with that continuity anymore. But it sounds like they're just probably going to be adding to it.
It's disappointing.
The hint was like Big Boss is still on
that he has backstory to be
more
fleshed out.
That's disappointing. All right, we'll be back in a couple seconds for news. Until then,
I'm ready.
And we're back. Philip with the news.
Yeah, there is a bunch of big news this week. Let's just get right into it with Leak Mania. This is easily the biggest story. Tons of Microsoft and Activision stuff came out this week. Was leaked by a marketing and research company called IntelliSponse. Basically, their website was hacked. They had a login protection, and some people on Xbox 360 Fanboy and NeoGAF basically figured out how to get past that login protection and found a ton of documents about projects that are coming up. Some of this stuff might not be real since it is a marketing and research company, but among the stuff they found, the biggest thing was probably Xbox 360 avatars, which look a lot like the Nintendo Mii things, but they're more customizable. And the rumor is that they'll be replacing your gamer card and that you can use them in some games. I think this one is very likely. It's been heavily hinted at for a long time.
No, not at all.
There was also a karaoke game for the 360 called Lips that may or may not be from the developers of Elite Beat Agents. Forza 2 information was leaked. Apparently it's going to have 400 cars, 100 tracks, and it's going to come on 2 discs, which caused a lot of people to complain about that.
Why?
Really?
A lot of people were upset.
Who cares about switching a disc?
Well, what it did was cause fanboy
It's
battles.
not like you're going to be running around the fucking. It's like lap 2. Please insert disc.
That would be awesome, though.
I mean,
no, but it caused a lot of fanboy battles where people, like PS3 fanboys came on and were like, "Oh, look, this is why Blu-ray's the future," and then 360 fanboys were like, "Whatever, it's not a big deal," and there was just bickering back.
I can swap a disc in the time it takes any of them to install a game.
Yeah, I don't know.
That shit's so stupid either way because I think it really is so irrelevant. It's like who really gives a fuck? If you like cars, if you like motorsport sims, then chances are you're going to be looking at GT and you're going to also be looking at Forza. I mean, whatever. Man.
Yeah,
20 seconds out of my day, I'll survive.
Whatever.
Supposedly there's going to be a game show channel launching on live. For Activision stuff, they released 14 potential Spider-Man game concepts.
I can't wait for this. We talked about it on Monday's 1UP FM coming up this Monday. We go into a little more. But
yeah, we go into that a little more detail there.
That makes sense for Marvel Comics, though, like where Spider-Man's got a comic about his daughter. And there's a spin-off for everything. So
yeah, and some of them sound really good, some of them sound really stupid, and most of them probably won't get made.
It's like Spider-Man Gangs of New York.
I'm hoping versus the Marvel Zombies is more or less that.
That's Spider-Man versus Marvel Zombies sounds awesome. I'm gonna say it. Powers and Titans was announced, which is basically City of Heroes non-MMO. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 info came out. Racing Equity, which is probably the worst name for a racing game I've ever heard.
It's a mortgage simulator. Investment banking.
Tony Hawk. The rumor that there will be a Tony Hawk game with a balance board peripheral for the PS3 and 360, which I believe is also in Quarterman for EGM.
Interesting.
So you don't know Jack on the Wii, which is good. I mean, I've been hoping to see that return to consoles for a while now. And this one's really interesting, Sean. I'm curious about your take on this. Trioxide, which is a PC device or piece of software or something that supposedly emulates games from all 3 consoles on your PC.
Dude, it's going to be Bleem all over
again.
Yeah,
it's exactly Bleem.
Not even getting excited. If it were possible to pay $300 and to then be able to play any PS3 game and Xbox 360 game all on my one unit, of course it sounds good. That shit's not going to happen.
How long do you think it would take them to get slapped down with a lawsuit?
It's probably already happened.
It's probably already happened.
Yeah,
with that fucking press release leaked or whatever.
Yeah. All right, so you guys can go to 1UP and look in our news section. We just have a ton of stories from this.
You stayed up really late writing.
That's right. I was up all night. So you can check out all of them. There's a lot more detail on all of these. And I'm sure that a lot of these announcements are going to be coming at E3.
Yeah. Kind of a disappointing leak. A little bit.
It was a
lot of stuff. But when I saw the headline, I'm like, ooh, sweet. What's coming out on E3? I was like, 14 potential Spider-Man games. I'm really glad I knew that ahead of time.
Looking at your Christmas presents early and realizing this isn't what I asked for.
Stinking socks.
And if this is most of Microsoft's E3 announcements, it seems really clear that this E3, where last E3 they focused on some really hardcore friendly games like Mass Effect and Halo 3 and such. This is the E3 where they're like, let's get back those Wii gamers.
Yeah, we'll also get Gears 2 stuff. So
I'm sure that's true, and there'll probably be some other Microsoft stuff. So E3's not ruined yet. More bad news for Tecmo this week. Earlier in the week, we reported a rumor that key members of Team Ninja, as many as 3 dozen, are going to be leaving the company, and each one is supposedly going to be suing Tecmo. That hasn't been confirmed yet. Still a rumor. Still some stuff we heard, but. What has been confirmed is that 2 more employees are leaving and suing the developer, and one of them is Tecmo's labor union leader, Hiroaki Ozawa, who filed a suit with the Tokyo District Court for 8.3 million yen, which is $77,000. He says his suit represents all 300 Tecmo employees, and he's trying to bring to light an illegal flexible hours scheme that was supposedly put in place 4 years ago, and it resulted in employees exceeding 100 hours per month of unpaid overtime.
I wonder if this will shift the whole thinking of development over there.
Kind of like it reminds me a little bit of what happened with EA.
Yeah.
With the EA wife writing about the long hours and everything.
It's possible. Tecmo seems to be just in really big trouble right now. There's just one
really
bad thing after another.
How many
the suit
projects did Team Ninja have in development prior to this big?
That's a good question.
No, they haven't announced anything past Ninja Gaiden 2, but Tecmo has put out several press releases saying Team Ninja's still fine. They're working on a number of new projects, but without saying anything specific. The suit also says that Tecmo cooked the books, created false account documents covering up other reports. And of course, Tecmo responded and said the rumors are false. No such action is taking place at the company. They said the reports of 2 employees suing the company for withholding overtime is true, but they say that on April 1, 2008, they informed everybody that appropriate compensation is coming, which, I mean, I think that they're still probably in some sort of trouble for that because it probably should have come earlier than April 1, 2008.
Probably.
And then Tecmo ends their note by, of course, reassuring fans that its teams continue to focus and work on several projects to be released and announced in the future.
Wait, what about Tecmo Bowl? Wasn't Itagaki working on that?
No, I don't think that was an
Nothing to do
Itagaki
with
thing.
him?
No.
Okay.
All right, moving into some Sony
Thinking of
stuff
how that
here.
game would be if he was, though.
That would be pretty interesting. Moving into some Sony stuff, there's rumors going around that Sony's working on a break-apart motion controller, and this basically looks like a 6-axis, but it breaks apart right in the middle into 2 separate controllers. Supposedly, both of those controllers have motion-sensing accelerometers that work sort of like a Wii remote and a nunchuck. And then there was also a video leaked later in the week that supposedly showed a developer using the controllers for like a boxing game or something.
Interesting.
But none of this has been confirmed, but there's rumors popping up everywhere about this, and the original report came from gamesindustry.biz. They're not really a site that's known for kind of making stuff up.
Yeah.
So
Do you think at E3 we're going to see both the Microsoft rumored one and the PS3?
I don't know about the Microsoft rumored one. I'm still not sold on that completely, but I think the PS3 one is pretty likely. I think that might be their big E3 announcement.
It would take some really compelling software to get me on board with that controller. Some really
and
compelling software.
that's the really weird thing is that now there's going to be 3 separate controller SKUs for the PS3 if this ends up being true.
I mean, I'm down for them trying something new and, going. I just don't think it's necessary.
Well, it's not built in from the beginning.
Right,
so.
exactly. And they have 6-axis already in the controller. The motion's there. I don't really want a controller that breaks into 2 pieces and I have to snap it back together.
Yeah.
I'm not interested.
We talked earlier about Metal Gear Solid 4, and if you're still confused a little bit about the MGS4 plot, you can maybe check out the free Metal Gear Solid 4 database, which was released on the PlayStation Store this week. It's a 77-megabyte download, and it's basically an interactive encyclopedia for the entire Metal Gear series. MGS4 spoilers are going to be blacked out in it until you've completed the game, so it's not going to spoil anything for you. You can't check out anything ahead of time. But if you have played it,
if you wanted to,
apparently not.
Interesting.
Apparently, there's at least the way that they worded it on the PlayStation blog. I haven't checked it out personally, but they said that they made it sound like there's no option. It's just blacked out until you've passed the game. And if you're still confused at all, which I'm sure some people are,
Guilty.
Yep.
And then also in exciting PlayStation 3 download news, firmware 2.40 for the PS3 is going to finally bring us in-game XMB and trophies. Basically, this week they released firmware.
What's XMB?
Cross media bar, like the overlay on the PS3, like
that menu system when you're in it. You can overlay that now while you're playing.
I only played Metal Gear on the PS3, and that's the extent of it. So
well, when you turn it on,
just like when you turn it on,
your menu bar. That's the
so like the way that you can pull out the blade at any time on a 360. It'll be like that, but on the PS3.
Okay. I wish Garnet was here for this because then I could ask him if he was going to stop whining about home now that the cross media bar is coming.
Yeah, well, they released this week version 2.36 of their firmware, which just improves stability for certain PlayStation titles. But in that same blog post talking about that, they announced the cross media bar, in-game cross media bar is coming, and 2.40 is going to be the next firmware update. They haven't said when it's coming, but it sounds like it's going to be soon. They said they're going to reveal official details shortly. I wouldn't be surprised if it was very soon, within a month or so.
Yeah, they're usually pretty quick after they announce it.
And then, of course, it's also going to have the trophies, which is basically their version of achievements. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. they've really tied it to home previously, but clearly it's coming now before home is out. So
I'm sad it's not called entitlements like the original rumor.
Yeah, I wonder if it's all going to like water itself down and crash in the same way that, like, when Snapple first blew up. This happens with any product. When Snapple first blew up, it was like, okay, this is something different. Yeah. And then over the next 5 years, every beverage was basically high fructose corn syrup and some other shit. And then after that, it was like, dude, that stuff's like bullshit. And then it's just like water. And so someone made like Vita Water. Now there's a ton of those.
It's building up
Same
again,
thing with Red Bull. And what happens is you'll get to this point. I think there'll be so many ways to get achievements on so many different ununified systems that it'll start to like diminish.
People will
just
lose its value.
Yeah, people just like, whatever, dude. Like,
it's
and then
possible.
Someone will come up with something else.
if you look even at like online flash game sites like Congregate, their big thing is that they've got this achievement system that they're used to like pull people in and make them keep coming back and playing.
They all do it. And look at what you're saying. I mean, motion controllers coming to the other consoles, the equivalent of Mii's coming to Xbox. I mean, it's kind of nice when there's things to differentiate.
I agree.
And I feel like the market's large enough, and each console can really do that, is find their own niche and be successful without copying the other one.
Speaking of exciting download stuff, though, the Spore Creature Creator came out this week, and according to EA, got 250,000 creatures made in the first day that it was released.
Wow.
The first 24 hours, they said it was 2 creatures per second. And they said they didn't give word of whether or not this was from the demo or the $9.99 retail version or both. But by our own rough estimates, I think approximately 200,000 of the 250,000 Spore creatures were created by Scott Sharkey.
And all of them phallic.
All of them were variations on penises.
I was just looking at the store this morning, or like the viewer website, and we were just typing in like game franchises to see what people done, and people had done like bosses and Metal Gear.
Nice.
Mechs.
Big Daddies. They did Half-Life Headcrab Zombies. I mean, all sorts of
Chocobos.
Yeah, perfect looking Chocobo. I think people are able to produce far more than I expected.
Sure.
I mean, I didn't think there would be this much of a range, but like when I saw like there's this ape that like sort of rotates its anus and then farts on its face.
I've seen that one.
And it kind of like curls its lip and smiles. And then I saw like a guy, basically the equivalent of a anthropomorphic dude that's like humping a space cow. And these all come from something off of forums. But that's like the first Sporepedia I'm going to download, like the Gooniverse or whatever, and then have just this world compose that. And it's like, I'm still bummed though, because it's like it's the exact opposite of what I expected from this game. Now it has like almost nothing whatsoever to do with evolution, and I'm extraordinarily interested in that. And now it's just about what kind of cool fucked up thing could you make them with.
Sure.
But at least it's flexible enough to let you make some truly bizarre things.
Yeah. Well, everybody should check out Sharky's preview where he shows off a bunch of the guys that he made. That's what he's been doing all week. So. The Team Fortress 2 Pyro updates we mentioned earlier, those came this week. The update's going to include 2 new maps, one capture point map and one capture the flag map. It's going to change the alt fire of the flamethrower, so now it's going to fire a blast of compressed air that's going to push enemies or projectiles away. Apparently,
which is an awesome idea.
Yeah,
apparently you can like
idea.
shoot rockets back
right
at soldiers,
it's
which is
completely change the game.
Yep.
I mean, the defensive nature of. I mean, there's. God, imagine a Pyro like next to a sentry gun.
Yeah.
No.
They announced the new weapons for the Pyro, the flare gun, which is going to replace the shotgun and can basically destroy an enemy from long range if you aim it well enough. The backburner, which is a new flamethrower that removes the compression blast ability, but it guarantees critical hits if you hit guys from behind and gives you an extra 50 health. And the previously revealed extinguisher, which guarantees critical hits against enemies who are on fire, but weaker hits otherwise. And then the new achievements look about on par with the difficulty of the medic ones, which is to say some of them are fine and some of them are just insanely difficult. There's one for killing an enemy with a taunt.
What?
Which is, I didn't even know that was possible.
I didn't even know it was possible. I know which one. It's when he basically does the Hadoken maneuver, and he puts out like this tiny little Dan-style fireball. But I guess... But that's the thing, you'd never kill anyone with that shit unless you were just like lucky, right?
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you were defending a capture point and then you had a bunch of guys helping you and all your heavies are shooting and someone like just makes it through and they just happen to touch you.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, it's like make your bullshit mapping.
My favorite one is Barbecue Q, where you force someone to rage quit.
Yeah, there's that. Provide enemies with freeze cam shots of each of your taunts. I don't even know.
It means you taunt the second. The timing's just right. The freeze cam is whenever someone kills you, you see a glimpse of them. You taunt, and hopefully their camera captures you.
And then ignite 10 spies, kill a burning enemy who is ignited by another pyro. And then there's, of course, ones for killing certain number of enemies, killing 100 enemies with a flare gun, and killing 1,000 enemies total.
What I like about these is that they're all really creative, even though they're super challenging and maybe
it's just some of them are clearly going to lead to farming. Like it's
Their
some of them were obviously
are often really cool too.
Titles are
I suspect,
awesome.
Eric Wopaw is doing.
Oh yeah.
So then we have Dennis Dyack talking about he wants more originality in games, coming back to what we kind of talked about.
Dude, but this is a group who, I mean, I don't mean to pick on Dennis, but this is a group who made, Eternal Darkness and stuff, and from what I see now, they're making a Diablo clone.
Well, this is the thing, and it's really interesting. He says, I have to say the amount of originality seems to be distinguishing, even though the need for a lot of new IPs is becoming more pronounced. He talks about how basically, you have to, if you're pitching a new idea, you can't get the budget for it because budgets for games have gotten too high, and publishers aren't really interested in that. But he also says that he thinks over-sequelization is going to change in the next 10 years. So,
which is funny because
by the time we've reached the one-console future,
isn't Too Human
we shouldn't have sequels anymore.
Planned as a
as a
not only a
trilogy.
sequel but a trilogy.
Yeah.
But then on Too Human, he says, I know of no similar title on the 360 at all. It's going to be pretty interesting. And he might be right that there's not really a similar title on the 360, but it is kind of
there's like the X-Men Legends games and that sort of thing. I mean, ultimately the kind of games where you just go through beating the shit out of things over and over again and collecting a power-up, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's he has interesting ideas here, but again, I agree with you that I'm not sure that when he's making Too Human that he can really say that.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably speaking as like a pragmatist and idealist.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying, well, there are sequels because this is how it is. It's not. I don't want things to be the way they are, but I just cannot make the Deadliest Catch with $13 million.
I would love that. Microsoft's Robbie Bach, right? That's who it was. He was speaking earlier this week, and he said it was too early to tell if the next Xbox is going to be the first one out. A lot of websites actually misread this quote and sort of pasted it with the headline that he was saying the next Xbox will be the first system out. But what he actually said was that Microsoft, he thinks they made the right decision by getting the 360 out in time, and that gave them a really good advantage over Sony and Nintendo, which I think a lot of people would agree with. But then when he was asked if they want the next Xbox to be the first one out, he said it's way too early to tell, and basically he said we're going to be selling 360s for a long time.
Yeah, I don't want to hear anything from anybody about the next round of consoles for a long time.
People have started talking about it, and I'm like, I'm the same way. I'm like, no, let's focus on this round because
for maybe
there's
like
plenty of time
a
left.
Wii HD upgrade, maybe. That'd be acceptable.
The
but
Wii is the only console that I would accept any sort of talk about an upgrade over the next. Like, I don't want to hear anything
they
about
won't
a new
upgrade
console.
it. They'll just Nintendo will probably be the first to make another.
Yeah.
But it will just be different.
It'll
in
be
the same way
different.
that the Wii
Different
was
color.
different than,
Yeah.
All right, and then my favorite and final story of the week, Limbo of the Lost. We've been hearing a lot about this from a bunch of different websites. A NeoGAF member, Torkil, basically said, this feels like the climax of Act 1 of the internet, which I really love that quote.
I'm waiting for somebody to say, like, we all got punked or something. It was never real, because it's so outlandishly ridiculous, this game.
So this website, Game Plasma, basically posted an article last week noting startling similarities between Limbo of the Lost and Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 4. And it looked like basically individual art assets and probably entire environments had been copied directly from Oblivion into this game, Limbo of the Lost. Further investigation on the Quarter to 3 forums in NeoGAF found a bunch of other games had assets, both visual and audio assets stolen, including Thief, Diablo 2, Painkiller, Elder Scrolls 3, Rune, Unreal Tournament 2004, Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, World of Warcraft, and Hexen.
There's a comment here. If this was an art project and it was composed of found objects, the end result would be to say that video games are so interchangeable, and undistinguished that you could take pieces of all these different games, throw them together, and still have what might be a cohesive world.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about this is it's a point and click, old school point and click adventure game. So the backgrounds are totally static.
It started out on the Amiga, didn't it?
Yeah, it's been in development for like
forever.
10 years or something in various forms. But apparently, since the backgrounds are static, what people are starting to figure out that they think the developers did is they took screenshots from these games and literally just put the screenshots and had your character walk around on screenshots without having to do any real 3D coding or anything.
Right. If this was a free game, this would, in a way, be kind of an ingenious idea.
Exactly.
Fun with,
and a lot of people pointed that out, is that this could be as a mashup, sort of. Like, it could be really interesting.
Yeah, it could be.
But again, like, as trying to sell this and trying to sell it as an original product.
Well, I think if they had come out, like Sean just said, and showed, like, hey, look what you can do, kind of like making the statement about games being interchangeable and saying, like, look what we did. We took a bunch of stuff and we made an adventure game out of it and gave it away for free, then I would have been totally, like, on board with it and thought it was cool. But to, like, release a full-priced retail product.
Well, it's just not fair. It's not fair use any longer.
Absolutely.
It's basically the team here, the Majestic Studios is their name. It's 3 guys who kind of own a pub and decided to work on this game on the side, I guess. NeoGAF members also uncovered a bunch of instances of one of the Majestic devs showing up on adventure fan site forums and basically promoting his game, often in disguise as like he pretended to be a fan or he pretended to be his daughter in some places. And it was really bizarre. And then they also found instances of him on various websites that are supposed to help with game development, indie game development, asking for help. And basically, it looked like he didn't know a thing what he was doing.
It pretty much sounds like they have no idea what they're doing.
Well, look at the trailer.
Well, yeah, it's the whole
game.
idea that no one in this day and age is going to figure it out. Like, oh, this reminds me of Oblivion. Let me check. Yes, it is. I'm on the internet now.
Yeah.
The guy's a clock. I mean, it would be interesting to see a documentary of him.
Oh, yeah. I hope the story keeps going.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of it. The the American publisher, Tri-Synergy, responded to accusations basically saying they had no idea what was going on, and they're awaiting response from Majestic, but in the meantime, they've discontinued just distribution of the title. They're not going to let people buy it anymore.
If I was Bethesda, I wouldn't even bother suing them. Like, it's not like these guys are going to make 10 cents in the first place.
Nothing has come out really from publishers talking about it, except for that Bethesda said their legal team's looking into it. They haven't said anything since then.
Just get their names and blacklist.
They've already kind of been executed by the internet. Their career's over.
One of the interesting additions to this story, I got some help from a guy named Ben Mobbs sent me this little lead, but one of the devs, the same dev who had been on other forums, supposedly showed up on the game's radar forums and was talking. I think it was probably revealed as a fake. Some of the stuff he was saying was pretty ridiculous. Yeah. But there's some pretty funny quotes there if you want to go. It's been slash-dotted and everything. It's pretty easy to find.
If it's fake, it was very, very elaborate. Because, I mean, this guy did like 20, 30 posts on 35-page
basically
thread.
Lots of stuff saying, he said, this is why I would not call this plagiarism, piracy, or copyright theft, as it is no more so than a photograph of your friend drinking a can of Coke, infringing on Coca-Cola. But I don't know. But
when you start selling nothing but photographs of people drinking Coca-Cola, I don't know even.
But anyways, it's a pretty amusing. It's probably a prank, but it's a pretty amusing one. Anyways, if you want to.
Next week we're gonna put up a feature that's on IP and copyright issues as they pertain to gaming.
Cool.
And it will involve some of this. I mean, there's going to be one part of it that's going to be just a bunch of boxed items, so that you can have fun looks with legal, commentary about shit like Spider-Man and Batman appearing in Revenge of Shinobi, but then there's also like a proper story. A lot of talking with John Carmack and others about whether or not things can get overboard and if it's actually bad for the state of things. Carmack's infamous for having invented the Carmack's reverse, a method of rendering multiple shadows, only to have creative file patent for it. And around the same time, Carmack never did, and then they ended up having to cut a deal to basically pay for technology that Carmack invented. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff like that in the story. So look for that next week.
Sounds cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Is that the news?
That's it.
That's the news, and that's our show. Sorry it was short this week, everyone. It's extenuating circumstances. Garnet and Shane will be back next week. We'll probably get John back next week, too. We'll finally have the Killzone 2 chat that we've been promising for a while. The new EGM will be arriving shortly. That's on the cover.
And that's an awesome story.
Yeah, it's a really great story. The game's looking good. Until then, next week, enjoy the first day of summer. And
awesome.
That's it. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.